Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Lombardo. I am the founder of Right Heal Thrive, Right Heal Thrive books and accessories, speaking engagements and workshops, and creative development. I'm also an author and I am a speaker. And I hope that you have been finding additional self care for your own lives through this series of self care that contributes to healing episodes. And today we're on episodes 3. And this is amazing because I just realized there's so much that we can do for ourselves that is related to self care. In the past episode, we spoke about creative expression, we spoke about getting out in nature, we spoke about nutrition diet. Prior to that, we spoke about exercise and gratitude journaling. And what was the other one? Oh, mindfulness meditation. And we mentioned as well, we have discussed that healing is never linear, and what works for one might not work for another. But the idea is to try different things that can contribute to our growth, our well being, our thriving, and finding joy in our life, additional meaning and purpose and value. Because in the end of the day, we are enough. And sometimes we might not know things that might help ground us or help us gain additional well being or gratitude. So self-care is really important. A lot of times, I've seen in media, for example, that self-care might be putting on makeup and it might be buying a new dress, and those are great. And there are other things that for me, I feel that give greater meaning and that produce long-term results, like the nutritious eating or like getting out in nature. There are different activities that you could get in. You could go out and get something, and that might be great for a minute, but that long-term self-care that you're actively and intentionally and consciously creating for yourself, I think is crucial for everything that comes next, right? Because life is a journey. Today, I was going to talk a little bit about the quality of sleep and breathing exercises and self-compassion. That's what we're going to discuss a little bit about today. Quality of sleep. I think that is crucial that we get enough rest every day. That might be taking a nap and it might be sleeping during the night. It's knowing our bodies, getting into that rhythm, right? It's helpful and it's critical for our physical recovery within our body, our mental recovery as well. So everything settles. I think sometimes our mind races and it wants to just continue. You might have saw I kind of scrunched up my face, right? And my mind wants to extend well beyond what it should be because it needs to rest, right? And I've had to, and I offer this to others, I've had to create a sleeping ritual of being able to relax, and a few hours before I want to sleep is to just kind of calm myself and have a cup of tea, for example, read. I know some people that when they, come back from work and if they had a late shift, they might also have some tea or they might want to, watch a cartoon or play a video game to kind of disengage from, the world they just came out of, their job or class or school, and go into an activity that's very different as they also kind of regulate and relax and, come down the level from all that stress of where they might have come in from. Sometimes I also will write before I go to sleep, and just about some of the things that I want to get out of my mind. Just let's put it on paper before I go to sleep so I can kind of leave it there. Others, do different breathing exercises. And I notice that for myself, when my mind is especially active, I'll say, okay, mind, not right now. Let's think about this tomorrow. Oh, you want me to just write it down on a quick piece of paper before you turn off the light? Okay, let's write this down so I don't forget. So I find that, has been helpful for me, just to kind of say, mind, yeah, it's important what you're thinking, but we're going to rest today and we're going to think about it tomorrow. It's speaking directly to that, to that mind that really wants to be helpful, but not in this situation at, 10 o'clock at night. And, then I will honor the thoughts of the mind the next day and remind myself to, I don't know, put it on my to-do list or to make sure I get that done in the morning, to put that bag in the car that my mind really wanted to let me know that how important it was to get that bag in the car, So I recognize the importance of my mind, but also like tell my mind it's okay to rest. You got to rest too, because we want to keep going. We want sustainability here for self care. So that's just a little bit about me. I was a little bit vulnerable sharing that. You now know that my mind races, but I think it's important because I don't think I'm the only one. And I think it happens to a lot of us. We have this, world that sometimes we live in. It's just so fast paced, and we just got to remind ourselves and our brains to just it's okay to slow down, you know. And so that is my quality of sleep, because how is that going to help support our sleep? Our mind is knowing that it can rest, and now we are resting. The same with our body. We're not going to do an aerobics class or an exercise class or a workout 5 minutes before we try to sleep, because our heart's going to be pounding. We're going to do that at a different time. So it's trying to modify things as well to help establish this sleep routine to help us gain additional sleep as well. Breathing exercises could be very helpful also with self-care, and practicing deep breathing exercises. Different techniques can help reduce stress and anxiety. And there's like different types of breathing that promote relaxation. So I encourage you to research some of these, or take a breathwork class or a meditation class. If any of you are located, for example, in the Hartford, Connecticut area, there is the Toivo Center, and they actually also have a hybrid breathwork class, which is really great. So even if you're not located in the Hartford, Connecticut area, you can go on to the toivocenter.org. You can find their breathwork, and then you can take this class. There's a qigong and tea as well. So the qigong portion, it's a different day than the breath work, also promotes mindful breathing. That is also a class that's hybrid, and you can see that online from anywhere in the world. So I encourage you to look up breath work, to look up some different techniques, and to find these free classes like at Toivo Center, through their website and their calendar, to incorporate breathing. I think that there are many practices that could be really helpful that have to do with breath, recognizing your breath and doing breath work. And I also like to take, my heart rate down by breathing. Sometimes I can notice as I'm moving through the day that my heart is beating. It might be anxiety. It might be, just the going quickly between one activity and another. And I just have to remind myself, breathe. If I'm in the car, I might be anxious because there's a lot of cars. I don't know if something's going to happen or there'll be an accident. So I just have to remind myself to breathe and, just stay focused in the moment. And I think there was a time in my life when I realized I actually wasn't breathing well, and it was causing a lot more stress. But that's based off of my trauma. And it took me years to realize I wasn't breathing correctly. I was breathing, but it was really shallow breathing. And I wasn't really doing anything that was supporting my healing at the time. So all these things contributed. And when I started becoming conscious is when I realized that, wow, all these years I haven't breathed. I was living in this flight fight state constantly, like within my body, within my head. My breathing was erratic, and I had no idea. I wasn't conscious of it for so long. As I began to heal from that past trauma, I realized that my breathing actually changed, and I can see that now. I could feel the difference, and that's actually helped with migraines that I spoke about in the last episode, that I had these constant migraines. And it's when I started healing from this past trauma that the migraines started to disappear, and I started to breathe better. I was getting oxygen into my head. I became conscious. I started yoga, and that helped me with breathing as well. And some of these practices that I started out years ago, I continue to use, and all of those practices have been part of my journey into today. So that's why I think I love giving this information out to you all through self-care practices, how they contribute to healing and well-being, because we never know what might work for us. And it might work for us at a time, or we might try it for a time. But those options are always now within us, in that toolbox that we could take out in the future. So I'm going to end it today with that. Today we talked about 2. I'm going to let you think about self-compassion, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next episode. So have a great day. Thank you.